welcome back to class. This is Akirele Olademeji Philip. It's so good to have you back in class. So today we move on to meiosis and fertilization. I want you to pay attention to what is happening here basically. Now the reason being that that is meiosis, basically that's prophase stage of meiosis. I'm going to refer back to that much later. So let's get started. Now meiosis is a reduction nuclear division. The key words here are the fact that it's a nuclear division. It is a division that is happening in the nucleus. Or let me put it this way, both mitosis and meiosis are both nuclear division. All right. Now it is reduction, meaning that it is going to reduce the number of chromosomes from diploid to haploid. What does that mean? If the number of chromosomes were 46, or we say 23 pairs, which is going to be like this, let's say 1 2 3 4 5, like that. That is a pair. That is like two-way. That means it's in pairs. So having two copies of chromosomes, that makes it diploid. So it will now reduce into an organism that will have just a single strand or a single copy. This is called haploid. So we denote N, haploid with N, and we denote diploid with 2N. That means two copies of chromosomes, or two copies of chromosomes as it were. So this is a reduction division from 2 copies to 1 copy. Now it is not only that it has to be 46, please. Even if a cell has 4 chromosomes and divides by meiosis, it's going to end up having 2. It's going to be a half of whatever you have in the parent cells. All right, so we have 23 pairs of 46 here, then it's going to result into just 23. So we had 4, it's going to be what? 2. If you have 10, it's going to be what? 5. That's why it's called a reduction division. So when it was 10, it's going to be 2n. When it is 5, it's going to be just n, because it's going to be half of that. Hope that is clear to you. Then fertilization, on the other hand, is the union of 2 haploid gamete cells. Haploid saying that it's going to be just 1 copy, just n plus n, like that. All right, I think I have an illustration here for us. So this is what fertilization means. You can see that we have n from egg, n from sperm cell. So each of them then forms, so the 2n is going to end up forming, so n from sperm cell, which is 1 copy, another n from egg cell, that's 1 copy, forming 2n. So each of this came from each of the cells. That's fertilization for short. All right, so let's now talk about meiosis proper. It's a topic in itself in this segment. So cells in reproductive organs divide by meiosis to form gametes, which are sex cells. The number of chromosomes must be halved. That means it must be reduced when the gametes are formed. I already explained that maybe in one of the other lectures. Otherwise, there will be double the number of chromosomes after they join after fertilization. Imagine our normal cells in humans are 46. So imagine the sperm cell is 46, the egg cell is 46. That's going to be 92. That's not good. But by the effect of meiosis, this will reduce to 23. This will also reduce to 23. So we'll return back to 46. All right, this is why it is called reduction with division. It makes it easier. All right, then now meiosis is described as a reduction division in which the chromosome number is halved from diploid to haploid, resulting into genetically different cells. Now this is one thing I want you to remember. Now one of the reasons why we say that sexual reproduction leads to genetic variation is this, because the cells that will unite during sexual reproduction are formed by meiosis. Now during that process, something happens. Each of the, now let me get something clear to you, please, quickly. I want you to follow me. Now this is a cell that will divide by meiosis. These are the chromosomes it has. Before the cell will divide, this chromosome A, this chromosome B, will exchange their segments for real. That means a part of B will go to A, a part of A will go to B. Let me show you what that means. Okay, I think I'm going to show you that much later. All right, I think I have that. I thought it was here, but basically this is what meiosis means. From 2n, that's 2 copies, to just n, with just 1 copy. I think I explained this earlier. Now, stages of meiosis. I'm going to explain that part where I talked about how we have the variation, like I told you. So now, meiosis is categorized into 2 broad stages. These are Meiosis 1 and Meiosis 2. Now, let me go back and show you something. Now, you can see Meiosis 1, Meiosis 2. So because at the end of Meiosis 1, you have 2 daughter cells. At the end of Meiosis, you're going to have 4 because 1 divided to form 2, or the other one divided to form 2. All right, so we have 2 stages, Meiosis 1 and Meiosis 2. Then it says here, at the end of Meiosis 1, 2 daughter cells are formed, with each having the same number of chromosomes as the parent. All right, then each of the cells formed at the end of meiosis will go into, at the end of Meiosis 1, then we'll undergo Meiosis 2, like I showed you earlier on. Now, at the end of Meiosis 2, 4 daughter cells are formed, with each having an haploid number of chromosomes. All right, you might want to pause the video, like I always say, for you to put things down as you think you might need. All right, so moving on. So Meiosis 1, this is a summary really. Now it starts with chromosome doubling themselves. Like I told you, if a cell were to divide by meiosis or mitosis, the chromosomes must double in number, like it's going to multiply itself into 2. All right, now segments of each of the chromosomes are exchanged by a process called crossing over. This is what leads to genetic variation. Like I told you at the beginning, I was saying, I think about some slides back, I said that the reason why we have cells, organisms that are different variation, that is with variation during sexual reproduction, is because meiosis that forms the gametes involved in sexual reproduction has already carried out what we call crossing over. And I told you that means that each segment of the chromosomes will exchange. So this is a chromosome, so a part of this will go to this and part of this will go to this. Is that simple? Let me show you what that means. From what you are seeing on the screen there, you will see what is happening here. You will see that from the purple to the blue and from the blue to the purple, like take a look at that part there. All right, then I think this makes it easier. Then I think this one makes it easier down here. You can see that this is this pink? I'm not so sure, please. I'm not so good with colors. So you can see that a part of this goes on to this, and a part of this goes onto this, as we are having here. So you can see a part of the dark color there and a part of this here too. That is crossing over. So that is the real reason why we have variation. In case somebody asks you, how does meiosis lead to variation? Because of crossing over. All right, so now this is just to talk about different stages of meiosis, so to say. The first one I showed you, let me go back there. What we are saying here is prophase. That's the first stage of meiosis. This is prophase. Then the second stage of meiosis is what we call metaphase. At this stage, all the chromosomes are lined up at the center of the cell. What do I mean? Now I'm going to show, when this plays again from the beginning, I'm going to show you this is what I mean. So these chromosomes are lined up at the center like that. That is what mitosis, that's what our metaphase means. So this stage is called metaphase. Sorry, that's not so clear. That's not so clear. Metaphase. That's metaphase, as it were. Then the next thing that happens is the homologous chromosomes are pulled to the opposite poles of the cell. Let me tell you what that means. Take note of what I'm going to show you now. This is an entire chromosome, like entire pair of chromosomes. Entire pair of chromosomes are moving. Take note of that. I'm going to make reference to this much later. The entire pairs of chromosomes are the one moving to the opposite poles of the cells. All right. This is still this anaphase 1 happening in meiosis 1. Then 2 diploid cells are formed at the end of meiosis 1, basically. So these are the 2 cells that we are going to form at the end of meiosis 1. All right. And the cell split into 2 by what we call cytokinesis. All right. You might want to watch other videos of mine on meiosis proper. Now, for meiosis 2, now each of the daughter cells we have formed from these previous slides here, that means I'm talking about the fact that this one cell and this other one cells, then we all undergo meiosis 2, each of them that way. All right. So this is what I'm trying to say. So imagine these are the 2 cells, then can you see them dividing again? Now, but there's something I want you to pay attention to on this particular one. I want you to get to see that. I'm trying to bring in my pen. Now, this is what happens. At this point, you see that the chromosomes that are being pulled apart here, let me allow you to play from here, are not in pairs, are just singly. So the chromosome separates singly. We call it centromeric division. That means the chromosomes are splitting into 2, so to say, like that. So you have like the chromosomes are not in pairs. So it says the 2 daughter cells formed from meiosis 1 will then undergo the second meiotic division. The stage is similar to meiosis 1, except that there is no replication of chromosomes, number 1, and at anaphase 2, which is what you are seeing here, the chromatids are separated. So those things are separated. We can actually call them chromatids, not the whole chromosome moving the way we had it in meiosis 1. I hope this made sense. You might want to pause the video if it's not so clear, or you rewind it to just watch what I've said previously. All right. So this is the summary of meiosis. Basically, this is the cell to reproduce by meiosis. Then it forms at the end of meiosis 1, you have what? 2 daughter cells. Then each of these then divided again to form 4 daughter cells, as it were. And you can see that this parent cell has just like a pair, but in each of these daughter cells we now have just 1, 1, 1, 1. That's why I thought it's a reduction division. Basically, this is just a summary of the whole thing, as it were. This is another summary of the whole thing. You can just pause the video here to understand better. All right. Now, what is the importance of meiosis? What value does it have, or what additional effect does it have to us? Meiosis helps to reduce the number of chromosomes from diploid to haploid. That helps in what? In fertilization for sexual reproduction. Now, produces gametes, e.g. sperm cell and egg cells in animals, then pollen grain and ovum cells in plants, as it were. Now, it increases genetic variation, like the crossing over you saw is what helps us. Please make sure you pause the video to copy some of these notes down or jot it down, because you need it for your you're going to need this for examination purpose in your Gcse. Now, the next thing is meiosis produces variation by forming new combination of maternal and paternal chromosomes every time a gamete is made, meaning that when gametes fuse randomly at fertilization, each offspring will be different from any others, basically. So all the crossing over and the fact that we have the sperm cell and the egg cell coming from the father, the egg cell coming from the mother, and sperm cell coming from the father, brings about a new organism that is different from both of the parents, as it were. So let's quickly look at fertilization a bit before we round up, because the title is meiosis and fertilization. So the gametes are joined at fertilization to restore normal number of chromosomes. What does that mean? In humans, we have 46 chromosomes in each of our cells originally. Then it turns out that the cells that had 46 chromosomes will be reduced to 23. and fertilization will return it back to 46. What does that mean? We had 23 chromosomes, 46 chromosomes here, and meiosis reduced the, let's say this is what forms the sperm cell, it reduces to 23. Then this is what forms the egg cell. It had 46 chromosomes also, it was reduced to 23 chromosomes. So what did this was meiosis. All right, then fertilization, 23 plus 23 is what? 46. So that it says it restores the number of chromosomes of a cell, as it were. That's what it does majorly. Then also, when the male and female gametes fuse, they become a zygote, that is a fertilized egg. Now this contains the full number of chromosomes, half of which came from each male and male, from the male gamete, and half from the female gamete. So this is what it means. All right, now it says here the zygote divides by mitosis. Now pay attention to this. So we formed with, this is sperm cell, 23 chromosomes, egg cell, 23 chromosomes, came together to form the zygote, which is 46 chromosomes. Then this would then start divided by mitosis. Don't forget that mitosis means that it's going to be the same number of chromosomes here. So you're going to have 46, 46. So like the cell will keep dividing, because once a cell divides by mitosis, it's going to be the same number of chromosomes. It's not going to be less or more. So it says here, by mitosis to form new cells, which then continues to divide after a few days to form an embryo. All right, so cell division continues, and eventually many of the new cells produced become specialized. So that means we are trying to talk about how we are formed to some extent. I mean, how things happen. So we are formed the zygotes. Since we formed the zygotes, now the next thing that happened is the cells keep dividing. Then imagine you have plenty cells like this from the zygote, then it becomes the embryo. So it means that some of the cell will decide to become, let's say, the muscle cell. Some will decide to become, let's say, skeletal cells. That's why we call it specialization and differentiation. If you also see my video on cells, that will make it easier for you. So the process of cell becoming special is known as differentiation, so to say. And when it becomes specific for a function, we call it specialization. So this is what I meant. So this is a zygote dividing like that. All right, hope that made sense. All right, so that will be all for now on meiosis and fertilization. Hope that has been helpful. I will see you in the next. Bye bye.